A very good afternoon to you. Welcome to African News on Voice of the People Television. I am Promise A. Before we begin the news, kindly visit our website on www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. And I will begin in Guinea. In a landmark achievement for global health, the World Health Organization has declared Guinea free of Gambian's human African trypanosomiasis, commonly known as sleeping sickness, as a public health problem. Now this victory makes sleeping sickness the first neglected tropical disease eliminated in Guinea. World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus congratulated Guinea in his social media post. He described the announcement as a testament to the global progress against neglected tropical diseases and a beacon of hope for nations still battling with the disease. WHO says Guinea's success in eliminating this potentially fatal disease is a result of sustained investment, strategic partnerships, and commonly community engagements. Sleeping sickness, a parasite disease transmitted by infected tsetse causes symptoms ranging from fever and headaches, and in advanced stages, it causes neurological problems like confusion and sleeping disturbances. Meanwhile, following a reported outbreak in Uganda on Thursday, the World Health Organization is mobilizing support for national authorities to contain the Sudan virus disease, which belongs to the same family as the Ebola virus. So far, one confirmed case, a nurse from Mulago National Referral Hospital in the capital, Kampala, has been reported. No other than health worker or patient has shown symptoms of the disease. A total of 45 contacts, including health workers and family members of the confirmed disease monitoring. The identification of the case in a densely populated urban requires rapid and intense response. In a statement, WHO said it was deploying senior public health experts and mobilizing staff to support all key outbreak response measures. In addition, the organization has allocated $1 million from its contingency fund for emergency to help accelerate early actions. It is also ready medical supplies, including personal protective equipment, to deliver to Ugandan from its emergency response hub in Nairobi. WHO representative in Uganda, Dr. Kasonde Mwinga, said that banking on the existing expertise, the body is accelerating all efforts, including expertise, resources, and tools to save lives and bring the outbreak to a total halt. And now moving on to DRC Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo has vowed to reclaim the strategic city of Goma, even as the Rwandan-backed M23 rebels said they are open to talk with Kinshasa. Congolese Communications Minister Patrick Katemboué said the government of President Felix Tshisekedi has vowed to reclaim Goma from the rebels. Muyaya also accused Rwandan President Paul Kagame of fueling the conflict for economic gain. He disclosed that Kagame, for the past 3 years, has ensured and ensued trouble in the eastern Congo to enable him control the mineral resources used to build his Rwandan economy. Kigali has denied backing the M23 rebels led by political chief Kamol Nanza, who recently led the Congolese Electoral Commission. Meanwhile, after days of offensive to assert control over Goma, Nanga held a news conference on Thursday, vowing to restore electricity and water supplies. However, he said the rebel group was open to talks with Tshisekedi's government, a proposal quickly rejected by Congolese Defense Minister Guy Mondimvita. Still in DRC Congo, South Africa and Rwanda's foreign minister have held talks to defuse tensions after Rwanda's president accused South African leaders of distorting discussions about the conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. South Africa's Minister of International Relations, Ronald Lamola, and Rwandan Foreign Minister Olivier Nduhengere agreed to advise dialogue on the crisis in Congo during their phone call. The diplomatic efforts follow sharp criticism from Rwandan President Paul Kagame, who accused South African President Cyril Ramaphosa of deliberate attacks and lies regarding their previous discussions. Kagame questioned the role of the Southern African Development Community in the mission in Congolese, describing it as a belligerent force rather than peacekeepers. The M23 rebel group launched a major offense last week in the strategic city of Goma, home to around 2 million people. Congo, however, accused Rwanda of sending troops to the city to support the rebels. And while Kigali has denied backing the rebels, regional leaders have made calls for an immediate ceasefire as dozens of people have been killed while hundreds have been injured. A senior source within the Joint Force of Darfur Armed Movement said the troops are redeploying from Central African Sudan to El Fasher in North Darfur as fighting intensifies and the rival Rapid Support Forces moves heavy equipment from Libya. Speaking on grounds of anonymity, the source said that forces that fought alongside the Sudanese army to retake Wad Madadi began withdrawing 3 days after the city was recaptured. A withdrawal from the south of Shendi, near the Al-Jali Geli refining, started on Wednesday. Since April, the joint force has been a key ally for the army, particularly around the Jazeri region, on its battle near the Jeli refining north of Khartoum, Bari. The decision to redeploy the Darfur follows a sustained RSF withdrawal from Khartoum towards the eastern region, the source said. And now the source added that the RSF have begun moving heavy weaponry and specialized military equipment from its Matam al-Sara base in Libya near the Chadian border into Darfur. Chadian fighters have also recently joined the conflict, the sources claimed further. A landslide engulfed a group of mainly women gold miners in Mali, killing several of them, the Kolkori region's governor office in the West African country said. And now in a statement, Kolikoro Governor Colonel Lamine Sanogo said the women were numerous at an excavation in search of gold, and the excavation was surrounded by a dike that gave way and water entered with mud and engulfed them. Artisanal gold mining is estimated to produce around 30 tons of gold a year and represent 6% of Mali's annual gold production. This is not the first time such incidents have happened at a gold mine in Mali, which is known as one of the 3 gold-producing countries in Africa. We could recall in January last year, an unregulated gold mine collapsed in Mali, killing over 70 people near the capital, Bamako. And now, according to the International Trade Administration with the United States Department of Commerce, gold is by far Mali's most important export, comprising over 80% of total exports in 2021. It also noted that over 2 million people, or over 10% of Mali's population, depend on the mining sector for income. A Bloemfontein man sentenced yesterday by local magistrates court for raping his 16-year-old stepdaughter and infecting her with HIV has started serving his life sentence. The young girl reported in 2020 that the stepfather raped her while she was staying with her younger sister in a shack in Bloemspruit. She had said that the incident happened while her mother was admitted to the hospital. Police say the young girl reported the incident when she was sent to visit a relative in Sasolburg. Almost 40% of women in South Africa experience lifetime physical and sexual violence. This is one of the findings revealed in the first national gender-based violence study by the Human Science Research Council, published last year. The country had some of the highest rates of gender-based violence in the world, including rape, femicide, and domestic abuse. Well, joining us to analyze the stories in the studio is Mr. Peter Nosike, VOPTV in-house analyst. Good afternoon. Good to have you on the African News.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you, sir. So let's look quickly at the violence and femicide and rape that happens in South Africa, because it's looking like they are one of the highest countries in Africa with such rates.
There's a saying that it is easier that to find a needle in a haystack than seeing a virgin in South Africa.
What does that translate to, sir?
So it's
in a layman's term.
So that it is that the kind, in South Africa, even adultery is not a crime.
Okay.
So it's a kind of a free society where anything goes. Understand? So this is one of the reasons why these things are that abuse of women, abuse of children is very, very rampant in South Africa. And I feel that they should start taking this very, very serious.
In South Africa, there is a superstitious belief by the men that raping a woman cures HIV. I don't know if you've heard that. Do you share the same
Well,
thoughts?
you say that it's a superstition.
It is a superstitious to me, but some of them believe that.
But the society has been in existence before rape, before HIV. HIV started in the late 80s or so.
But the rate of rape increased in South Africa when they had the increased rate of HIV in the country.
Because of the moral decadence of the country.
Okay.
And this is a country that produced Bishop Desmond Tutu. So it is shameful that this kind of a thing should be happening in Desmond Tutu's own country. Understand? So there should be drastic action to stop all these things in the society. It doesn't tell good of a country of Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, and so on and so forth. So these are the people that the world look up to as for morality. That's timing. And getting this kind of news in South Africa is not good at all.
There is also a high rate of drug abuse in South Africa. Do you think it is connected with their behavior, with this certain behavior of raping women? Is it connected with drug abuse in any way?
Drug is the father of every kind of criminality you can think of. Rape, robbery. The robbery that goes on in Johannesburg in a week does not happen in Lagos in a year. Understand me? And this is because of drug abuse. Because when somebody is high, he's liable to rape, to kill, and commit other acts of other forms of atrocities.
All right, let's move on to South Sudan, where senior forces and sources are saying that Joint Force of Darfur Armed Movement is moving and redeploying their troops from Central Sudan to El Fasher and in North Darfur. So it looks like this crisis in Sudan keeps deepening by the day. The same thing with DR Congo, but we'll get to that of Congo.
Well, Sudan has been in this war for over 50 years now. And what is happening is mineral resources. They are struggling over who will control the mineral deposit in the area. And people are dying in numbers, most especially males.
So it looks like every country that has crisis in Africa is connected to their mineral resources. For example, Sudan will have Congo. The issues keep deepening. What is it with Africans and countries that are blessed with mineral resources in Africa? Why are there so much crisis in these countries?
The truth is that these things are being sponsored by...
By whom?
By people outside Africa.
People like who?
America, United States.
So you're saying the Western countries are sponsoring crisis in Africa?
Even we are going too far. what you see in Zamfara now is Westerners. Because
the gold mining in Zamfara
the gold mining, this is a very big syndicate. And what they normally do is to come empower certain people, just so that, because if they are to go through government regulations, there will be taxes that to pay and other protocols to observe, which will reduce or the profit that they are likely to hold, that to gain. So the only thing is to use an illegal way of doing it, and that is by using some criminal elements in the community.
Who are also the citizens of that country. So they are using their people to create mayhem in their own country.
Because they are being empowered, understand me, and are being used to be mining illegally for them. Because this gold in Zamfara are not sold in Nigeria. Understand me? They are sold in Dubai, in Paris, and
so
other countries. So
what is the role of the federal government in this?
The government, because of our constitution, where mineral resources are in the exclusive list that's of the federal government. State governments don't really take active interest.
I'm talking about the role of the federal government.
No, I understand you very well. These deposits are in the states, but the state governors don't have power over them. So it is federal government that has power over them. But the states where they are reside, governors don't pay much attention.
Okay.
Because they were not given the right to mine them. Understand me? So this is just like their own thing. Understand? So, and there's no way federal government can be everywhere.
So there was a certain time the Minister of Mines and Steel accused even governors, northern governors, of mining gold and causing crisis rather in this region. So when
mining.
The state governors are not empowered, how then do they get connected to still illegal mining?
That's illegally. Illegally, understand me? Because those people, they are being rewarded for not showing interest. Understand me? Some governors where this are happening are benefiting. Since we cannot benefit from the federal government, let us benefit from this other side. And instead, they are still in their school in Enugu, but the governor of Enugu State don't have any power that to touch any of the code. So if there are people that can come and he will be benefiting from it, he will say, okay, understand? He will not look at what they are doing, understand? But he will be getting the information.
And he will have his percentage illegally.
And that's what is happening in Zamfara, in Borno. So all these terrorist organizations that you are seeing, ISWAP, Boko Haram, are agents of those people. They are to cause a crisis in those areas.
Agents of the miners?
Agents of the miners. And the miners are working for foreign interests. So when they cause this insecurity, the security of the nation, just our military, will not be able to access those areas.
Why can't the military be able to access those areas? Why? What is stopping the military from accessing those areas of mining?
There may be more. They may have more sophisticated arms than our Nigerian soldiers. So the terrorists
probably has better and sophisticated weapons than the Nigerian military.
Sure.
That's what you're saying.
Yes. How many times have you seen a policeman with a new AK-47?
But Mr. Nosike, security tops our budget every year. For the past 10 years in Nigeria, when you look at the budget and the data and the figures, security is always top 3 in the budget. So who then uses these finances and what do they use it for?
Well, I will tell you that 50% of them will be going into private pockets. You remember about a month ago, there was a call on the president to audit the Nigerian army. The president said no. Because people are wondering, of all the billions that are going into security, Boko Haram had not been defeated up to now. But a lot of these are going into private pockets. Just like the soldiers on the war front, those fighting Boko Haram in different areas. There are analysis for them on a daily basis. But this is not getting to them.
To them.
And that's why they are not motivated.
There was even a time they said the allowances per day was between 1,000 to 1,500 naira, which is very meager.
Not many
compared
of
to
them
the budget.
are getting it. Not many of them are getting it. So that's why those people are not. Why would I just waste my understanding, die without being compensated?
And when you come to cry out, or when the soldiers come to social media or the media to cry out, the court martial you. You're not supposed to do that as a military man.
Do that, no.
So you're supposed to, obey the last order
Obey
and
the
die.
last order.
So let's move on and let's still talking about gold mining, illegal gold mining. The Malian head of state, the junta leader in Mali, has accused a Canadian company, I think last month, of mining to the tune of 250 million illegal mining in Mali without paying the government, the Malian government, a penny.
Okay. This just confirms what I'm telling you, that those illegal mining are not being done by Africans. Those people doing it are doing it it's a very big syndicate, but from the Western world. Understand? From the Western world. And this is why Congo has never been in peace since independence. Understand? Because when you talk of mineral resources, Congo is #1 in the world.
True.
But because of, they have never had peace. They have never had stable government because of foreigners coming there and doing all this illegal mining. Today, you cannot even say how many countries are in Congo.
Illegal mining? Countries or foreigners mining
countries.
illegally.
Countries. Today, you hear Congo Democratic Republic. Tomorrow, you hear that's a different one.
Okay, that's separatists trying to separate because of the illegal. So it's all about the mineral resources in Congo. That's what you're saying.
Not about the welfare of the people.
Of the people. Talking.
What they are doing there is profit over people.
So still talking about the Republic of Congo, South Africa and Rwanda's foreign ministers have held talks to diffuse tensions, and after Rwanda's president accused Cyril Ramaphosa of distorting discussions about the conflicts in Eastern Republic of Congo. You remember that a lot of leaders, a lot of Western leaders, when Secretary General has accused Paul Kagame of fueling crisis in Congo, Cyril Ramaphosa did the same thing. All fingers are pointing towards Paul Kagame of fueling the crisis in Congo. Do you think he's responsible for the crisis going on in DRC Congo?
Well, the soldiers, Congo and his own country has a boundary.
Yes, eastern part of Congo.
Yes, and there are this view that those causing trouble in Congo come from the border last time, and that they have the backing of Paul.
He has been accused of fueling and supporting the M23 rebels that are causing the crisis.
They are causing the trouble, and because of the same natural resources. That's what I mean. That's what is causing trouble mostly in Africa. That's what I mean. Natural resources, because anywhere there is peace, there is bound to be the development. So these people come with a discord to cause problems, so to enable them have a free reign that's on those things.
So if we flip the script, Africans are going to the Western countries to mine illegally and cause crisis. Do you think the Western countries will be able to take that?
The capacity is not there.
So why are African countries allowing that to happen on their continent?
The technology that they have, we don't have it. So we cannot even do it. Just like now, every year in Nigeria, we spend billions on watching our oil pipes. You hear of pipeline vandalization.
Security.
Last time, Tom Pondo has over 4.5 billion naira contract.
He has that contract with the federal government.
But Aramco, that is Saudi Arabian oil company, which is the #1 in the world. They have technology that is monitoring all their pipelines.
The UAE also has that.
So anywhere something happens, understand, they will detect it from the offices.
So how do we not get this sophisticated equipment? We have oil. We're blessed with this natural resources. These other countries like Saudi Arabia has. What is causing our politicians in focusing in that point?
Corruption.
In Africa.
Corruption.
So it's about corruption and African man. So what
Yes.
is it with black man and corruption and acquiring wealth, especially African leaders?
Well, because they feel that the more money you have, the more power you have.
And they acquire this wealth and loot this wealth, dry their economy to the Western country. They store this money.
They go
and
to
then
France,
reach
to United States,
the Western
and store.
economy that is better than yours.
Well, that's it's on exposure. That is what I will say, because no American will steal money in America and come and bank it in Nigeria.
When you say they are unexposed, is it educationally or they do not travel? Because they always travel out of this country.
There's a saying that don't equate intelligence with education, because somebody can have PhD and still be stupid. Understand me? So it says one exposure. The more exposed you are, the more conscious you become. The less materialistic you also become. So this could be our level of involvement. Understand me? Because we are still in the era of primitive acquisition, where one man will want to have a whole state to himself. Understand me?
And it is from what you're saying, is this the reason why in a lot of African countries, let's say Rwanda, Paul Kagame has been their president? For the fourth time now, he's the president. I think since the end of the genocide in 1994, they've never had another president aside Paul Kagame.
Over 32
we
years
have
now.
the Ugandan case too.
Museveni.
Who has been there for more than 30 years.
Then Paul Biya of Cameroon.
Who is very old and frail, by the way. He was one time rumored to have passed away.
Paul Biya is 94 as we speak. And he wants to run for another 5-year term. Understand me? So he wants that to run for another 5-year term.
And he should.
He's going.
How old would he be by then?
99.
Almost 100.
As we speak, he's the oldest president in the world.
Is he even still physically fit?
No, these people, it's just their wives and children that are running the system. In Museveni or Uganda, the daughter should be the daughter should be the central bank governor. Understand me? In Uganda. So, but this cannot happen in the United States.
In the United States. Can it happen in Nigeria? But I think Nigeria, do you think it will even happen in Nigeria? Because I remember during the administration of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, he wanted so very strongly to go in for third term, but he was vehemently refused by a lot of people. Do you see that play out in Nigeria?
There's a lot of interest in this country. Understand me? There's a lot of interest in this country. So interest cannot easily agree.
What kind of interest? By politicians? Or is it our social interest?
We have a north. We have a south. Understand me? Then we have a business interest too. And again, those countries that it is happening are not as populous as Nigeria. In every four African, one is a Nigerian. A country of over 220 million people. Understand me? Those other countries, maybe they're not up to 50 million, or they have they have one culture. Understand me? Here we have Christians and Muslims are about 50-50.
But there are also Christians and Muslims, let's say in Ghana. In other African countries, you have Christians, you have Muslims.
Ghana, you cannot go more than two terms. Kenya, you cannot go more than two terms.
All right. So let's look at what the WHO is saying, that they are mobilizing support to national authorities to contain the okay, the spread of Ebola. There's a new outbreak in Sudan, Ebola outbreak in Sudan. This brings me to what the president of the United States did. You know, he stopped U.S. aid in all African countries this week. You know, he stops the U.S. aid that's the medication for those that has HIV, hepatitis, and all of that. But somehow he temporarily stopped that waiver. So there is an emergency waiver now, and U.S. is still going to sponsor African countries in this medication.
But
is that a good development?
But for me, let me use Nigeria as a country. Do we really needed that waiver?
Do we not need it? You think you don't need it?
When you are using 21 billion to renovate the house of your vice president.
So our priorities are different.
Sure. Understand me? We are mismanaging our priorities. We are wasting money on what should not be wasted. Understand me? When the president of Argentina came in, Argentina was in recession.
Yes.
What he did was
under 1 year, he was able to take them out of recession.
He cut down the size of his cabinet by 50%.
True. He flies commercial.
And today Argentina is out of a recession. So, but my concern is when you are giving somebody loan, he is not using that money well. You keep on giving.
But this president, I'm talking about President Tinubu now, you know, he said his government is doing everything possible to cut costs. Do you not think they are cutting costs of governance in Nigeria?
Our constitution says 36 ministers. He is using 42.
Even though he has one of the highest ministers and cabinet in the history of democracy in Nigeria right now.
So, and every day he is appointing.
So he's not cutting costs. That's what you're saying.
The only way to cut costs is to use the Orosanya
report. To implement Orosanya reports.
Sure.
But even former other presidents could not do that. Even I remember during former President Goodluck Jonathan's regime, he tried to implement that Orosanya report. But we didn't see that happen. It didn't see the light of the day. I don't know what is in that report that is making it difficult for President before even President Tinubu to see that report implemented.
Why, Jonathan, you know, for you to implement Orosanya, many political appointees will go.
Okay.
Because you are going to kind of merge many.
You're merging ministries and MDAs together.
So just like in Ghana here, John Mahama dissolved 7 ministries in order to cut costs. 7 ministries. And these are 7 ministers.
But President dissolved some ministries too. Even though he created more ministries like the livestock ministries.
So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And you sacked 5 and you appointed 7. You are even worse. So Ghanaian president dissolved 7 ministries. And these are 7 people that lost their job, their SAs, their PAs, and so on and so forth.
So if a Orosanya report is being implemented in Nigeria, wouldn't people lose their jobs? I'm talking about civil servants. Wouldn't that affect the economy and the unemployment rate in Nigeria?
Over 50% of the workforce will go. But we will now have a more efficient government. If you have a more efficient government, you can now build our economy will begin to work. Even if you are selling pure water, you will start making money with it.
How would that translate to making our economy better?
When you cut down on your expenses, you save.
I'm trying to let you tell Nigerians how it's going to affect the common man in the street, like you said. How is it going to better the life of a pure water seller?
Now, when you cut down on your expenses, you will save. If you save, you can now invest in the critical sectors. Understand me? If you can have a stable power supply at an affordable rate, the hairdresser can do her business. The barber can power his generator. and so on and so forth. Understand me? So everybody, that's once we have a stable power, business will begin to boom in the country.
But Mr. Nosike, this was what they told us when President Tinubu cancelled subsidy. He said it was for the benefit of the people, and they were going to use it to invest in the people. So if we're not seeing the dividend of subsidy removal, do you think we'll see the dividend when the Onosanya report is being removed? That's the question.
Tinubu said that he's not thinking about it because Tinubu is thinking of the next election. That those who may be affected will not support him anymore.
So he's waiting for his second term?
So he's thinking about his own political future more than the well-being of the country.
All right. So let me touch quickly on the BRICS. Trump is spitting fire, I would say, before we'll be able to wrap up. He's saying that he's going to sanction the countries, the BRICS countries. Now, remember that Nigeria was one of the partners. We went into partnership with the BRICS countries.
A partner, but,
recently.
But not yet a member.
We're not a member, but we're a partner member of BRICS. Is it going to affect Africans economically, especially Nigerians?
Well, the only big member now is South Africa. Understand? And Nigeria, who is just that's at the doorstep, still shaking whether to enter or not to enter. But the issue is that Donald Trump policy is America first, and the BRICS is anti-America. So because they want to weaken American currency.
Yeah, if they move away from the dollar.
And now have their own.
And he's threatening 100% tariffs if they try to move away from using the dollar as a national currency.
And there's no way Donald Trump would fold his hands and let that go.
So what is the essence of forming the BRICS countries if they are not able to implement these policies?
You know, the BRICS country, as they are now, have about 32% control of the world economy. That's Russia, China, India. Understand me? So, and they have also about 4 to 5 billion population. Understand me? Because China and India has about 3 billion or so. But the economy is in the hand of the other nations. That's the world economy. That's that's America and Europe.
So if Nigeria finally, let's say we're partner members now, you think you're seeing any future full membership of BRICS? And if that happens, are we still going to keep getting loans and grants from IMF and World Bank?
They cannot attempt
you think Nigeria would not attempt it?
No. Once you join BRICS, you lose the IMF, you lose World Bank. IMF headquarters is in New York.
So you think President Tinubu is not ready?
He cannot do it.
All right.
And they would even expose him more.
Expose him as how? In what way?
With the CSU.
What CSU are you talking about? Chicago University. He's alleged Chicago University saga there.
Because they are keeping it for him to be a good boy.
That is what you think, Mr. Ano. That's your thoughts.
That's what is happening.
All right. Thank you so much. Sadly, this is where we draw the curtain on the analysis on African news. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Nosike is, of course, VOP TV in-house analyst. The rest of the news will come to you shortly after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and now the rest of the news. Nigeria's army said it had recovered 4 lorries used by Moroccan drivers who went missing near the border with Burkina Faso in an area where insurgents operate. 4 Moroccan truckers were reported missing in mid-January and have not been found. Now, the army said it is the latest bulletin that the drivers were abducted by an unidentified individuals on January 18th on the road linking to Terra in western Niger to Dori in the northeastern Burkina. It said that during a reconnaissance operation in the Terra area last week, soldiers had recovered the lorries and taken them back to the capital, Niamey, as part of the investigation into the incidents. The vehicles were carrying equipment destined for Niger's state power company and had been traveling without a security escort. The army said it would intensify search and reconnaissance missions in the region and monitor sensitive border areas in collaboration with neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso. Turkey's ruling Justice and Development Party has signed 2 strategic agreements with counterparts in Somalia and Ethiopia, weeks after Ankara mediated truce between the 2 Horn of African nations. Earlier in the week, AK Party Deputy Chairperson Zafar Srikaya met the Secretary General of Somalia's ruling Union for Peace and Development Party, Abdulman Hussein, in Ankara to sign a memorandum of understanding for closer bilateral cooperation between the parties. Also, Srikaya was in Addis Ababa to meet with the Vice President of the Prosperity Party and the Deputy Prime Minister, Adem Farah. According to officials, the agreement will facilitate joint research, training, consultation, and information sharing between the parties. Vice President Nana Agyameng has related Ghana's commitment to strengthening energy cooperation with China following a meeting with a delegation from the Shanghai Energy Group. Professor Agyameng, who stood in for President John Mahama at the meeting, focused on expanding the research of Sunum Asogi power in Ghana's energy sector. She said the emphasis supporting women engineers in the energy sector, adding that by the end of the meeting, the delegation from China had agreed with her suggestions to select some women to train in their facilities in China. Now, the Vice President commended China's unwavering support, particularly in addressing energy supply challenges, and assured the delegations of Ghana's commitment to supporting future project expansions to meet the country's growing energy demands. The meeting marked a significant step towards deepening Ghana's China energy cooperation with a focus on expanding Sunum Asogi power research in the energy sector. And now moving to Zambia, where the Swiss government is ending its development and program for Zambia, Albania, and Bangladesh. This decision comes after the parliament allocated less funding for foreign aid in December than the government had requested. Parliament has cut 110 million Swiss francs from the 2025 international cooperation budget and 321 million Swiss francs from the financial plan for 2026 to 2028. This move impacts bilateral economic and thematic cooperation as well as multilateral organizations, according to restatements. The Federal Council, Switzerland's executive body, has been notified of the cuts to international cooperation. As a result, the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation will end its bilateral development programs with Zambia, Albania, and Bangladesh by the end of 2028. From 2025 to 2028, there will also be broad cuts to countries and thematic programs and organizations. However, humanitarian aid, peace building, and aid to Ukraine will remain unaffected. And now to Kenya, where the government has kicked off the nationwide livestock vaccination campaign aimed at vaccinating no fewer than 22 million cattle and 50 million goats and sheep. It reiterated that the exercise is entirely voluntary, insisting it will force no farmer to vaccinate their animals amid concerns over vaccine safety. Agriculture and Livestock Development Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe said during the launch in Laikipia, North Sub-County, that the 3-year initiative will vaccinate livestock against foot and mouth disease biannually. Kagwe added that pes de paties ruminants are the highly contagious viral disease that affects goats and sheep will come annually also. He further stated that the goal is to protect the livestock and enhance productivity. According to him, the government, in partnership with county governments, is committed to eradicating these diseases and achieving disease-free status from the World Organization for Animal Health. Kagwe added that both diseases cause significant economic losses, with recent outbreaks in several counties leading to quarantines. He urged farmers to ensure that vaccination of their livestock are scheduled to protect their health, boost productivity, and safeguard livelihoods. You're still watching the African News on Voice of the People TV. Business stories will come after this break. Stay tuned. And now talking business, the International Monetary Fund expects South Africa's yearly economic growth rate to reach a 1.8% by 2030, supported in large ongoing electricity and logistics reform. In the outcome of its Article 4 consultation with South Africa, which was held from November 11th to 25th, the IMF has forecast that real GDP output growth will accelerate from the estimated 0.8% in 2024 to a 1.5% this year. This predicted on the back of improved electricity generation, monetary policy easing, and a return of investor and consumer confidence post-national election. In a statement on January 31st, the National Treasury said the IMF's concerns were aligned with South African government's response to addressing immediate and long-term economic challenges. It agreed that South Africa's economic growth prospects are poised to recover this year, following the landslide economic performance in 2023 and 2024. This is as a household consumption gradually increases, supported by the rising purchasing power, employment recovery, and wealth gains. The report of IMF consultation with the government and other stakeholders states that the outlook remains marked by high uncertainty with a balance of risk titled the downside. Tanzania and Burundi have signed an agreement with 2 Chinese firms to build a railway between the 2 African countries. This railway, essentially for transportation metals, including battery minerals, nickel, to the port city of Dar es Salaam. Tanzania's Transport Minister Makeme Marawa disclosed during the signing ceremony on Wednesday that the $2.15 billion joint venture will be constructed by China Railway Engineering Group, China Railway Engineering Design and Consulting Group. It will be financed by the African Development Bank. Tanzania's Finance Minister Mwigulu Nchemba further said that last year, he disclosed that 2 nations expect the 175-mile standard gauge to transport 3 million metric tons of minerals annually. In the last decade, China had funded infrastructure projects such as railways, power plants, and ports, and across Africa through its Belt and Road Initiative. And now sports, Zambian football star Raquel Kundunanji had been appointed a UN AIDS Goodwill Ambassador to champion the fight to end AIDS as a public health threat in Zambia. In a new role, Kundunanji will work with UN AIDS to champion HIV prevention, advocate for girls' education to help reduce new HIV infections, and sexually transmitted infections. She will also highlight the importance of preventing teenage pregnancy and advocate for an increase in HIV testing and access to health services for young people. MLS signed Atlanta United are set to sign a Middlesbrough striker Emmanuel Lath for a fee of $28 million. The 26-year-old Cote d'Ivoire international had scored 27 goals in 59 championship appearances since joining from Swiss side St. Gallen in August 2023. It is understood that Lath has always been Atlanta's first choice in this transfer window, despite also having interest in Crystal Palace's Osborne Edward and Benfica's Arthur Cabral. Atlanta, who re-signed Castle United midfielder Miguel Almiron on Thursday, finished ninth in the Eastern Conference last season. The deal for Lath, which will be the biggest Borough have received for a player sale, will be structured in $22 million upfront and $6 million in adds-on. And with sports, we've come to the end of the news. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel on Voice of the People TV and on other social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. I am Promise. Good afternoon and thanks for listening.